Breaking news. The world is holding its breath as Vladimir Putin makes a shocking move. Reports suggest Russia could be offering nuclear missile cooperation to its closest allies, sending shockwaves through global capitals. Iran has already issued a stark warning to the West, while China, Russia, and even Trump's circle are reacting in their own ways. Stay tuned, because what's happening right now could reshape the global balance of power. Hello everyone, welcome back to Warpulse Media, your source for deep, factual, and fearless global analysis. Today's story has stunned the international stage. Vladimir Putin's reported offer of nuclear missile cooperation to allied nations. This isn't just another geopolitical headline, it could mark a major shift in global defense strategy. The move comes amid growing tensions between East and West, where sanctions, alliances, and rivalries are evolving faster than ever. Putin's gesture appears symbolic yet strategic. By offering nuclear-related cooperation even in discussion or research form, Moscow sends a powerful signal that it's ready to strengthen military bonds beyond conventional limits. Iran's immediate response, warning the West not to provoke a new arms race, has amplified the global anxiety. As Western leaders scramble to interpret Moscow's intentions, China remains cautiously silent, observing every detail. Meanwhile, political figures like Donald Trump have already entered the conversation, calling it a wake-up call for Washington. In this video, we'll break down each angle, from Moscow's motives to Tehran's warnings, and what this could mean for the global balance of power. Let's begin with how the story unfolded and why it's shaking capitals worldwide. According to multiple regional reports, the controversy began when Vladimir Putin made remarks during a defense technology meeting in Moscow. He hinted at the possibility of sharing Russia's advanced defense capabilities, particularly missile research, with trusted allies. While no official document or treaty was announced, the implications were enormous. The mention of the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile, one of Russia's most secretive and long-range weapons, instantly drew international attention. The Burevestnik, nicknamed Skyfall by NATO, is believed to have near unlimited range due to its nuclear propulsion system. If such technology were even partially offered to partners, it could fundamentally alter military balance and deterrence strategies worldwide. Western intelligence agencies have been quick to analyze the tone and context of Putin's words. Some analysts believe it was a strategic bluff, a show of power designed to remind NATO that Russia remains technologically dominant. Others, however, suggest that Russia could be signaling readiness to deepen cooperation with nations that share its anti-Western stance, particularly Iran or North Korea. The announcement's timing is equally crucial. Coming after months of NATO expansion discussions and US sanctions, it appears Moscow wanted to send a very deliberate message. Russia is not isolated, it has options. Within hours of Putin's statement, Iran's foreign ministry released a pointed message aimed directly at Western powers. Tehran warned that any attempt to contain Russia or interfere with its alliances would invite consequences. While the language stopped short of an explicit threat, the tone reflected Iran's deepening frustration with Western policies and its growing alignment with Moscow. Iranian state media praised Putin's strategic courage, highlighting that the West has long monopolized nuclear and missile technologies. In Tehran's view, Russia's openness to collaboration symbolizes a more balanced world order. Some Iranian analysts even suggested that this could mark the birth of a new Eurasian defense bloc, potentially rivaling NATO's influence. The US State Department immediately condemned Iran's remarks, calling them provocative and destabilizing. European officials expressed concern that such rhetoric could escalate regional tensions, especially if Iran sought to acquire new missile systems under Russian guidance. Iran, however, dismissed Western criticism as hypocrisy, arguing that Washington itself maintains extensive military ties with allied nations across the Middle East. For Tehran, Moscow's willingness to share defense knowledge is not a threat but a counterweight to what it calls Western hegemony. This sharp exchange set the stage for a new diplomatic showdown, one that could soon involve China. China's response to Putin's nuclear cooperation remarks was characteristically cautious yet strategic. The Chinese Foreign Ministry issued a short statement emphasizing the importance of global stability and responsible defense collaboration. However, Beijing's state-run media took a more interpretive stance, suggesting that Putin's move reflects the West's failure to isolate Russia. Behind closed doors, experts say China is watching closely. Beijing and Moscow share overlapping defense interests, but China's long-term ambitions are centered on controlling the narrative of global leadership. Supporting Russia too openly could draw Western economic retaliation, something China aims to avoid amid fragile global markets. Still, analysts note that China benefits indirectly from any Western distraction. The more Washington focuses on Russian cooperation with Iran, the more strategic space China gains in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait. Diplomatically, Chinese think tanks have framed the issue as the West reaping what it sowed. They argue that aggressive NATO expansion and sanctions have only pushed Russia further towards strategic partnerships, something Beijing quietly welcomes. Though China won't publicly endorse nuclear sharing, its silence speaks volumes. It's a calculated neutrality that ensures Beijing stays powerful, no matter which way the winds of global tension blow. The Western world reacted swiftly and nervously. In Washington, senior defense officials met behind closed doors to assess the credibility of Putin's remarks. The Pentagon publicly downplayed the statements, calling them symbolic posturing, but privately admitted concern about the potential expansion of nuclear know-how beyond Russia's borders. In Europe, NATO officials emphasized unity, releasing a statement reaffirming their commitment to deterrence and global stability. However, some European diplomats quietly fear that Western sanctions have cornered Russia into pursuing riskier, more provocative alliances. The United Kingdom's foreign secretary called Putin's rhetoric dangerous but predictable, while France urged restraint, noting that words about nuclear cooperation must never turn into action. Meanwhile, U.S. political figures, including Donald Trump, seized on the story. Trump claimed the Biden administration's weak foreign policy had emboldened adversaries. His remarks quickly spread across media platforms, fueling political debate in Washington. Western analysts now face a difficult question: is Russia's move a genuine diplomatic offer, or a calculated psychological operation to test Western resolve? Either way, the conversation has reignited fears of a second Cold War, one fought as much through words and alliances as through weapons. To understand the gravity of Putin's move, we must look at the global arms race dynamics. Since the collapse of the INF Treaty in 2019, the world's major powers have accelerated missile development programs. The US, China, and Russia are all testing hypersonic weapons, autonomous drones, and nuclear-capable systems designed for rapid response and survivability. Russia's Burevestnik missile stands out because of its theoretical, unlimited range. If functional, it could strike targets anywhere on Earth without predictable flight paths. For Moscow, it's not just a weapon, it's a symbol of resilience against Western pressure. When Putin mentions sharing such technology, even theoretically, it sends a global message of defiance. It also highlights how fragile the current arms control framework has become. Agreements like START and New START are now under strain, and trust between nuclear powers has eroded. Nations such as Iran or North Korea view this environment as an opportunity. The more divided the great powers are, the easier it becomes for smaller states to advance their own military agendas. Thus, Putin's statement isn't just about missiles, it's about power, perception, and the rewriting of international order. From Moscow's perspective, this entire episode may be part of a broader strategy rather than a literal offer. Russia's defense diplomacy often uses ambiguity as a tool. By suggesting potential cooperation, Putin reinforces the image of Russia as a technological powerhouse and indispensable global player. Internally, it boosts national morale. Amid sanctions and economic pressure, messages of scientific and military prowess rally domestic support. Internationally, it forces adversaries to spend political and diplomatic capital responding to uncertainty. Analysts believe this narrative helps Russia achieve three goals. First, to reassure allies that Moscow remains a reliable partner. Second, to warn the West that attempts at isolation will backfire. And third, to maintain bargaining leverage in any future arms control talks. By invoking nuclear themes, Putin essentially reframes Russia as a central actor, not a cornered state. The deliberate use of the word cooperation rather than transfer also allows flexibility. It sounds open, yet non-committal. For global audiences, the message is clear. Russia may be under pressure, but it's far from powerless. Every statement is part of a psychological chess match that Moscow plays with remarkable precision. In the United States, the news became an immediate political flashpoint. Democrats criticized Putin's rhetoric as dangerous propaganda aimed at destabilizing democracies. Republicans, meanwhile, accused the Biden administration of appearing weak on deterrence. Donald Trump, during a campaign rally, claimed the world wouldn't be facing such crises if he were still in office. His remarks went viral, resonating with voters frustrated by rising global instability. Putin never tried this under my watch, Trump declared, linking his foreign policy legacy to current fears of escalation. The Biden administration responded cautiously, reiterating that U.S. intelligence has not confirmed any tangible nuclear cooperation deal. However, behind the scenes, pressure is mounting on Washington to take visible steps, whether through diplomatic engagement or stronger deterrence signals. Media coverage across American networks painted the development as another chapter in the emerging U.S.-Russia-China triangle. Public sentiment is divided. Some demand de-escalation through talks, while others favor a stronger military posture. This internal debate reflects America's broader challenge, maintaining credibility abroad while avoiding overreaction. The political noise in Washington may, ironically, be exactly what Moscow intended, a reminder that even a few words from Putin can unsettle global power centers thousands of miles away. As news of Putin's alleged nuclear cooperation spread, social media platforms exploded with debates and misinformation. Some users hailed it as Russia's bold defiance against Western dominance, while others feared it marked the beginning of a dangerous new arms race. In global markets, investor confidence wavered slightly. Oil prices edged higher as traders anticipated potential instability in the Middle East. Meanwhile, defense stocks surged, reflecting market anxiety and opportunity. Public reaction varied widely. In Europe, protests broke out calling for renewed disarmament talks. In the Middle East, some analysts celebrated what they called a rebalancing of global power. Across Asia, however, governments took a more cautious tone, emphasizing diplomacy and restraint. International think tanks began publishing assessments within hours. Most concluded that while Putin's statement might not signal immediate action, it undeniably shifted global psychology. The perception of nuclear sharing, even without proof, is enough to trigger diplomatic urgency. By the end of the week, world leaders were calling for renewed discussions on arms control and regional security frameworks. It's a reminder that in modern geopolitics, perception often drives policy. Putin's statement has already achieved its goal, commanding the world's attention. As the dust settles, the key question remains what happens next. Experts agree that while Russia's offer may never materialize, its strategic timing was no coincidence. It exposed fractures in global diplomacy, challenged Western narratives, and reminded everyone that Moscow still holds cards no one can ignore. Iran will likely continue leveraging this rhetoric to strengthen its bargaining position, particularly in the nuclear talks that have long stalled. China will maintain its delicate balance, quietly observing, subtly benefiting. Western nations, meanwhile, are expected to tighten coordination within NATO while urging restraint to avoid unnecessary escalation. This event also highlights the power of information warfare. A single statement amplified by global media has already shifted conversations in Washington, Brussels, and Beijing. In an age where perception is power, Putin has once again proven his mastery of global stagecraft. And that brings us to you, our viewers. What do you think this move really means? Is it a genuine offer of cooperation or a geopolitical message wrapped in symbolism? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Warpulse Media for more deep, fact-driven analysis of the world's most critical events. Until next time, stay informed and stay sharp.